Namaskar, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu Science and Technology Analysis on October 1, 2023. When I talk to you now, today is October 2nd. So, how have been the day? I hope you were engaged in various kinds of activities which the principle of Gandhism teaches us to do. The social activities which Gandhism is encouraging us to do, I hope you have been doing and very much satisfied with the activities of your day. On my part, I have also performed some. And as I said, every day I go through the volume 1 of the collected works of Gandhi, and sometimes bits and parcels of which I share with you. Today I would share with you my readings on an interview given to the Vegetarian magazine, in which Gandhiji explains how difficult it was for him to embark on his journey to London. He had to face four blockades. He compares this to the 10 heads of Ravana. The four blockades is equated to the 10 heads of Ravana. The first blockade is money, of course. He faced the financial troubles, gathering of which was so much difficult. Second one is resistance from elders. The elders just thought that it was not good for him to travel to London. And then the third obstacle was the community in which he belonged objected to his going to London, especially the community in Bombay. His community in Bombay objected to his going to London. The fourth one was the objections which he suffered from his mind, the pain which comes out of separation from the relatives. How wonderfully he explains this one by one. The difficulty of money, the objection of the elders, the mental agony which he suffered while thinking of leaving his relatives, and how his community objected and ridiculed him before embarking on his journey to London. His brother had given money to a friend to be endorsed to him while he stayed in Bombay for 15 days before embarking on a journey to England. And that friend just left. He was nowhere to be found, and another friend obtained money for him. Then he shares one letter to the Bombay Presidency High Court where he says that June 10th, 1891, he completed his barristership in London and wanted to enroll as an advocate in the Bombay Presidency. It is very important to say at this juncture that he left for England from Bombay on September 4, 1888. So 3 years later, on a June 12th, 1891, he could not believe he was coming back to India. So my reading goes on, and I will keep sharing with you the readings which I have made. So much to learn from this Mahatma, and so much to imbibe from this Mahatma, and his words are so simple and talking directly to us that it lights up my days and nights, and I am reaching inch by inch to the true self of human beings, that is the Atma. Now, let me get back to the topics of the day in the science and technology analysis which I am going to make. The first topic to be discussed is genomic markers of disease resistance in staghorns corals. You know of a country known as Caribbean. The Caribbean is a group of islands, a group of nations. We have a West Indies team also. So in the Caribbean coast, in the seas, an acropoda species, that is staghorn corals. You know about corals, you have heard about coral reefs. Coral reefs. Lakshadweep is made up of corals. The reef formed out of corals skeletons. The coral skeletons are very much important. We have many reefs, many islands formed out of coral reefs. If some disease happens to these corals, what happens is that it affects the life of corals. So, one such disease is white band disease. White band disease is the whitening of the skeletons of corals, which forms as reefs and later on islands like Lakshadweep. So, this staghorn corals of the Caribbean, these staghorn corals belong to the Caribbean seas. They face this white band disease. A white patch would be formed over them. And this news is about the finding of 10 varieties of genomes which resist this white band disease. The genome is the genetic material in the animals and plants which is responsible for a characteristic and behavior and a response. In Caribbean corals, the staghorn corals, 10 genomics have been found out which resist this white band disease. Therefore, if it is developed in such a manner that the resistance to the disease can be increased, it will be very much helpful for saving these corals from denigrating. The next news item which I am going to discuss in this science and technology column is fungal pathogens sticking power virulence uncovered. Separate it. Separate these words. Fungal pathogen. Fungal pathogen. Fungal means fungus. You know about fungus. In this news item, fungus candida is being discussed. And pathogen means the disease causing germ. Fungal pathogen means the fungus which causes the disease. Sticking power means it colonizes on a hydrophobic surface on our skins, on several plant surfaces. It colonizes, it spreads. Virulence means spreading. This F. candida fungus is causing disease, and it is developing a protein to get stick to the surface, the hydrophobic surface. Hydrophobic means which is not which is repelling the water, which is the water does not stick there. This fungus would form and stick onto the surface of human beings and will cause diseases, will exert pathogenic properties. So this protein is being found out, is what is being discussed here. The protein which helps it to spread and colonize and exert the surface presence is found out, is what discussed in this news item. Friends, the next news item which I am going to discuss is loci play prominent role in Darwin's finch evolution. What is this? Let us separate. Loci. Loci means the genetic material responsible for evolution. The genetic material which is responsible for our behaviors. So this loci is being found. Who is Darwin's finch? Darwin's finch is a small bird having the white stripes over the dark surface of this bird. So its beak, it is one of the species which Darwin found as natural selection. This beak has been developed due to a locus. Locus means the genetic material responsible for its beak shape. For catching the prey, it needs the beak. The finch needs its beak. It is a special kind of bird. It is of the color of an eagle, but not an eagle. It's a medium shaped bird. It catches prey with its beak, and this beak is developed. Now it has been found that the locus which is responsible, or the genetic material which is responsible for the development of its beak has been found out, is what discussed in this news item, my dear friends. Friends, the next is the question corner. Every week, the question corner poses some question and answers the question. This time, the heading of the question is, the title of the question is Dogma Challenged. What is this dogma? Dogma is fixed ideas, the fixed form of ideas. Dogma means fixed form of ideas. Whom we are talking about? Here we are talking about Caribbean jellyfish. What we have to talk about this Caribbean jellyfish? Caribbean, I already discussed. It doesn't have a central brain, just like us. We have a central brain, but Caribbean jellyfish does not have a central brain. So how does it understands its prey? Jellyfish, you have seen a small. It is of the shape of a nail, a human nail. That is that size of a nail, small one. How this jellyfish identifies its prey? How does it catches its prey? There is a quality which connects the sensation and the behavior. The sensation which it gets through the murky waters of the Caribbean, it connects it through the behavior. Thereby, it identifies its prey. This neurosystem, which connects to the behavior of the item which is it finds in the murky waters, is responsible for its identifying the prey. This is what discussed in the question corner. Though it does not have a central brain of its own, but the sensation, through the sensation, it finds the prey. This is also known as associative learning. Friends, next news item which I am going to discuss is genes fuel antibiotic resistance in Yemen cholera epidemic. Let us break the words. Genes, you know the genes. Fuel means increase. We are talking about Vibrio cholera. In 2016, a country named Yemen, you know about Yemen, faced, it is nearby the Gulf GCC countries. It is the neighbor of GCC countries, Yemen. In 2016, there was a cholera outbreak in Yemen. It continued till 2018, and historic calamities it caused, and the death was very huge. The cholera is named Vibrio cholera. What makes it special is that this is antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance means it resists whatever antibiotics we have or we consume. This cholera will resist that antibiotics. That is a very dangerous condition. What helps it to achieve this feat is that there is a plasmid which is present in this cholera. This Vibrio cholera has got a plasmid. Plasmid is a round shaped DNA. And this plasmid resists the antibiotics. Therefore, what happens is that it becomes very much dangerous. No antibiotics can work. If you apply antibiotics to this cholera patient, that will not be helping the patient. So this study is very much necessary, my dear friends. The next article which I am going to discuss is why BSL-3 lab for Nipah confirmation is unnecessary. What does it deal with? First of all, let us understand what are BS2 labs, what are BS3 labs, and what is TrueNAT testing, what is ICMR, what is WHO, and what is why this TrueNAT testing is necessary, and what is inactivation of the virus. Friends, RT-PCR testing we all know. This is a centralized testing. The real-time PCR testing is conducted central. And when this RT-PCR testing is done, it takes lot of delay. Then what is feasible is that this centralized RT-PCR testing is decentralized through the TrueNAT testing. In TrueNAT testing, what happens is that similar kind of swabs are taken and transferred to the lysis medium, which inactivates this virus and transfers it for testing. There are 5 medical colleges where this TrueNAT testing is allowed by ICMR. In 2021 itself, the emergency use authorization was given for this TrueNAT testing in these 5 medical colleges. However, why we had to depend on NIV Pune for centralized testing is not known. Actually, this is not a regulation agency. ICMR is not a regulation agency. WHO says that TrueNAT testing can be done in the TrueNAT testing can be done in decentralized labs. The BSL-2 labs are itself preoccupied for TrueNAT testing. TrueNAT testing is the decentralized testing. So small sorts of equipments are needed for TrueNAT testing. So now the government is saying that, ICMR is saying that we are aware of the risk. Actually, BSL-3 labs are for research purposes. Once the virus is being inactivated, it will not spread. So for research purposes, BSL-3 labs are necessary. This lysis buffer is available only in BSL-3 labs. This factor of lysis buffer, when inactivates the virus, it is sufficient to test this in BSL-2 labs. Why ICMR is preventing this against the WHO direction is that ICMR's explanation is that we are scared that this virus will, even the inactivated virus, will not be fully inactivated and it will spread. That is why we are not allowing this TrueNAT testing to be conducted in BSL-2 labs, and the BSL-3 labs are necessary. But this is causing very huge delay, my dear friends. So this delay has to be reduced by allowing the ICMR to come in terms with the WHO guidelines to test this Nipah virus in BSL-2 labs. Friends, next which I am going to discuss is that titled patients must be diagnosed for diabetes. Friends, the HbA1c test is the test for pre-diabetes. A person who is having around 5.8 to 6.4% of diabetes will not be tested through the finger test diabetes test. So what is required is that the HbA1c test has to be done. Why is it necessary that if a person has diabetes and he just contracts the tuberculosis, there is a high chance that the death will be sure for him. And this remains asymptomatic. The person remains asymptomatic through the finger test, nail testing. So, a detailed diagnosis of the pre-test diabetes is necessary so that we can save the patients who will develop TB and diabetes together. These are dangerous combinations, my dear friends. Friends, I have come to the conclusion of today's analysis of the Hindu Science and Technology column, that is page 3 of the Hindu. The key takeaways for this analysis is that the TrueNAT test shall be allowed in BS2 labs in Kerala so that the speed with which the analysis is being done is improved. Second is that pre-test diabetes has to be conducted for the patients who are contracted with the TB because we have a higher chance of saving them. Then the third one is that something has to be found out for saving the corals, the Caribbean corals, from the white band diseases. Then the fourth one is that The Yemeni cholera outbreak is a lesson to be learned, and we must try to prevent such kind of outbreaks in future to find some solution to the anti drug resistant microbes to be tackled, and for that research has to be devoted. With these key takeaways and a very good day that is today, Gandhi Jayanti, I bid adieu and exhort to make the scientific timber and keep it alive, my dear friends. Thank you. Take care. Bye.